Hello and welcome. My name is Lord Bakington. Welcome to my kitchen, welcome to my stream, hair flip, and welcome to my life. Today I have a super amazing recipe for you all today. We've retired our air fryer for now. I feel like because how successful it was, I want to start using it more often without the Amazon plug. I mean, I'll probably still do the Amazon plug because honestly, I really like it. I'm sure you guys will too. But I feel like I don't really want to air fry a pie today. I mean, don't get me wrong, fried apple pie I'm sure is a great thing. I've never had it personally, but I'm sure it probably is really great. However, I want to make this pie as traditional as I can and as properly as I can without adulterating it too much. The thing is, I could go and try and do really crazy stuff, but I've never air fried a pie before. I've done a lot of those other things. I've made homemade chicken nuggets, homemade french fries, homemade everything like that before. I've never air fried a pie, so I really don't want to try the first thing on my stream because then I might mess up. Usually whenever you try the first recipe for the first time, you will mess up, even somewhere. So I want to minimize my embarrassment by not messing up on stream. You dig? All right, we're on the same page then. M60, thank you for the host. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're making a gooey, beautiful apple pie. As Tree Trunks says up in the top, we've made you an apple pie. I can't wait to show you guys this recipe. It is absolutely amazing. Before I do, though, I have to ask you a couple questions. One, have you ever had apple pie before? If the answer is no, please leave the stream. Two, if you have, I'm going to describe a couple of different apple pies to you. I want you to tell me which one it feels like to you. Was your apple pie, did it have a nice crust and a really, really, really gooey, sweet, kind of delicately spiced interior with apples that were firm and not completely mush? If so, you've had a good apple pie. But if you're like me, the majority of the apple pies you've had in your life were lackluster. One of the main problems is that people think that they can just throw the raw apples in, which works for the most part. However, if you want that really characteristic sort of flavor and texture combination, you need to pre-cook your apples, which is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to pre-cook our apples really, really well. Make coleslaw? No. So with that, we have an apple pie to make. I'm going to show you guys a few tips to get your apple pie into absolute pie perfection. Make it perfectly sliceable, perfectly holdable, and also it's going to have the amazing, like honestly, if you make this pastry right, and it's honestly really difficult to mess with this pastry because it is really, really drop dead simple, you are going to have the best apple pie you've ever had. High five, Raid. Oh my gosh, high five and M60. Oh my gosh, hi Miz, hi everyone. There's so much going on in here. Someone call the fire marshal. I don't think I'm allowed to have this many people in my house. Anyway, apple pie. But we've also got a very special request from Lady Bakington herself, my madre. She asked me to, one, put a meatloaf she had made for my dad in the oven, and two, to make my Bakington mashed potatoes for dinner tonight. The thing is, I specified make it for my father because I personally do not eat meatloaf, nor does my mother. Simply because I don't like meatloaf as a rule, and my mother doesn't eat it because she's on a super restrictive diet right now, on one of those crazy workout boot camp things where you're only allowed to drink, you're only allowed to eat protein shakes and kale. But she likes what she's doing, so that's good. But that's why I specified this meatloaf is for my father. So we're going to be doing that about halfway through. Plus, we're going to show you guys how to make Bakington-style mashed potatoes. Super duper easy. Plus, it'll take no time at all if you follow a few simple rules. Donger Raid. Oh my goodness. Mom, the meatloaf, we want it now. Hi everyone. You're just in time. We just started. We're going to have so much fun today. Apple pie and meatloaf. I don't know what's more American, honestly. Like the idea that classic Americana, the not good Americana, harkening back to like the 50s when there was housewives in pretty aprons with meatloaves and they're like that all the time. Weird times, I know, right? But we're going to be harkening back to those. Also, for those of you who are, I was pretty excited about this, those of you who are avid watchers of the Bakington Show will know that I have this giant bowl of citrus fruit. It has now expanded from just lemons. I know a lot of you thought that I was just obsessed with lemons, to now a lot more citrus fruit. I've got limes, I've got a few oranges, and my handy citrus squeezer is now permanently placed in the pile of citrus to remind them that they all eventually will get squeezed. Speaking of which, for this recipe today, I need 2 small lemons, or 1 big lemon. I couldn't really find big lemons at the store, so I'm going to have to use 2 small lemons and my juicer. You'll see why in a minute, but the first thing we need to do before anything else is prepare our crust. It's sort of like house building. If you don't have a strong foundation, your house won't ever work properly. It'll fall apart simply because you don't have a good base to start. You're always fighting against it. Sort of like bricklaying as well. Do we get to flour the roller today? Absolutely we do. But oh my gosh, thank you High Five and M60 for the host. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful, honestly. Like I'm a little overwhelmed now. Don't stress out. All right. First things first, everyone get your pen and paper ready. Also, if you're cooking along at home, get ready the following ingredients. We need some flour, some butter, some shortening, some water, and some salt, and a little bit of sugar as well. I'm gonna give you 5 minutes now to get all that together. Just kidding. If you don't have it ready, too bad. Get myself my flour, my sugar. I'm going to get myself some ice cold water, not for me to drink, but for me to use in our pastry today. I'm gonna get the ice machine in my fridge to give me a couple of cubes of ice. I'm gonna get some water. We're gonna need about between 1/4 to 1/2 cup of water. Kerplop. I'm also gonna need 2 sticks of butter in this total recipe, but specifically one really cold stick of butter for today's dish, for the pie itself. And last but not least for this dish, let me get myself my pastry blender and what is going to ensure us an absolutely crispy crust. That is a stick of shortening. You might as well ask, but Bakington, why are we adding shortening if we're adding butter? Why don't we just add the same weight of butter? And here's the reason. Butter in itself is an emulsion of fat, proteins, and water. It doesn't have much protein. It's usually milk proteins and milk solids, but it's fat, protein, and water. That's why it looks this sort of off-white butter yellow color. But when you melt it, it separates into a sort of amber clear liquid, and then this scummy foam on the top, that white foam on the top. That is the milk solids that have been separated out of the butter. We don't want our butter to be warm because it changes chemically when you do that. We want this nice cold room temperature, cold, straight out of the refrigerator butter, because we want to preserve all of that coldness and all of that emulsification in there. There's a lot of water in this for as much fat as it is, much more than there is in shortening. Very little water, a lot more water. And the water plus the water we're going to add is going to like get in there and get wrapped up in all that fat. And then as soon as it hits that hot, steamy oven, it's going to expand, create steam, and get those lovely, crispy layers of flaky pastry. That's how you get it. You get the instantaneous steam evaporation of the water that sets that puffs the pastry up, and then it sets with the hot fat. So these two are going to work double time to make sure we have a delicious crust. Toxic Falcon, I am doing absolutely fantastic, especially now. Oh man, I'm kind of scared. I'm going to get one of my big bowls. In fact, we're going to use a lot of our bowls. Don't catch me. Don't catch me outside. I'm wearing cargo pants, and my pants got caught in one of the... Never mind. Moving my bowls to the side, I want to use this bowl for my dough, and this big bowl for my apples, which is later on. We need to start with the dough because the dough has to like rest for a little bit. If we wanted to use the dough right now, we'd have had to have made it ahead of time. You need to give your dough about half an hour to an hour in the fridge to chill to make sure all that fat is nice and cold again. So that way your butter isn't oozy and melty when you try to roll it out, and it's going to be sticky and greasy and not good. Plus it won't get crispy like we're supposed to. So if you're new to the Bakington show, the way we measure flour here is we take our 1 cup measure and our half cup measure, then we scoop the flour into the 1 cup with the half cup. I can talk. Until you get a big heap of flour. Then, with the back of a butter knife, just sweep the excess off. Into the bowl it goes. Once again, and you might as well ask, but Bakington, why not just scoop the flour like a normal person? Well, if I was to do that, watch. I'll show you. Let me get out my kitchen scale to illustrate for you what I mean by the differences between scooping and laying. The kitchen scale, let me get a bowl. Here, let me show you what 1 actual cup of flour, the scooped and sweeped method, is supposed to weigh. Just gently flow it over. sweep the excess off. And that is 125 grams, okay? Now, I'm going to put that in there anyways. That's 2 cups of flour. I'm going to scoop the flour and then sweep the excess off. And now let's see how much this weighs. 150 grams. No lie, 150 grams. You can see it right here. 150. That is 25 grams off, which would, if we, in the long run at least, maybe not right now, but if we were making like a big batch of dough, it would throw off our dough and make it far too dry. So it's always important to do that to minimize the amount of extra flour you're adding in. The more flour we add, the tougher and denser our pastry is going to be instead of light and flaky. So the more you know, the better off you'll be. His pants were caught. Indeed, they were. Wake up, oven cam. Oh my gosh, the oven cam's asleep, you guys. What happened to him? I think he probably had a bit too much to drink last night. I need your guys' help. I need you to lean in close to your TV and say, wake up, stove cam. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Wake up, stove cam. Ta-da! There we go. And finally, I'm going to scoop out another ½ cup of flour. There we go. Beautiful. I'm going to scoop out a little bit of flour just for dusting when we roll it out. Keep that off to the side. But I think we can put my flour. Oven's preheated. That is a 420-degree oven. Yes, la la la, ha ha ha, 420. Yes, indeed. 420 degrees. No lie. Now into this flour, I'm going to take about 2 tablespoons of sugar just to lightly sweeten this dough. Ooh, my sugar got all crusty for some reason. Are you secretly a Power Ranger? No. Get a whisk, mix that in. Then I'm going to get myself some salt. Salt's very important in almost every dish we're going to make here, simply because it adds savor to whatever we're making. Salt, important. It just adds flavor. I'm just going to add about ½ teaspoon of salt. Whatever you're making, be it sweet or savory, salt is important for bringing out the flavors of the other ingredients in your dish. So do not leave it out. Some salt just to add a bit of savor to our dough. All right, those are the dry ingredients in. And put this to the side. Now we're going to need to do something a little bit special. I want to make my butter as small as possible, this nice cold butter, as small as possible before I put it into my dough. So I'm going to take it and just slice it with a butter knife. What else? A couple of times into some small cubes. This will minimize the amount of handling we have to do to this butter to help blend it in, while at the same time minimizing the handling to keep it from getting too warm. There we go. I cut it into about, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 40 pieces. There we go. Got that in there. That was 4 ounces of butter, or rude. Get out of there. 4 ounces of butter, or 8 tablespoons. I'm going to add the same weight, or volume rather, 4 ounces of shortening. The shortening doesn't have to be at room temperature, or the shortening doesn't have to be cold, so don't worry too much about that. Once again, I'm going to take my cold vegetable fat, slice it up into about 6 pieces, and drop it in. Toss everything in the flour with absolutely clean hands. And then you can either use a pair of knives or forks. I'm going to use my pastry blender. It looks kind of like something a superhero would use, but in fact it's just a few blades with this little cleaner attachment that's meant to blend the pastry together really easy. So I'm just going to go through, smash that dough. This breaks up all that fat into really, really, really tiny pieces. Just twist the bowl as you go. Now you probably understand why I needed ice cold water, because the water, when you add it in, is going to help chill everything out. Because even while we're working it, even though we're not touching the dough, the constant friction with the flour and the blender and all these other things is heating it up even a little bit, which in the long run could make our dough too warm. Plus, it's in a warm environment in my kitchen, and I want to minimize the amount of melting this butter does. So what you're aiming for are small pea-sized pieces of butter, even smaller than that maybe. Chicken getting old next to the oven. What chicken? Why use that instead of the stand mixer? The stand mixer is good for a couple things, like beating and whipping. But this particular action isn't really something I would want the stand mixer to do. This problem with the stand mixer is that it just isn't suited for this kind of a purpose. Unless, I guess the only machine I would ever suggest you make dough in, like pie dough, is a food processor. Because it blends, we want to blend this, not really mash it or fold it or whip it or beat it. We really just want to blend it all together, which is kind of like why I'm using a couple blades. So really the stand mixer is just not fitted for that kind of purpose. A food processor, yes. Stand mixer, really no. All right, this looks good. It's sort of coming together. You can still see little bits of butter and fat. So I'm going to clean this off with the little cleaner blade. That's good. And now we're going to add between a 1/4 cup and a 1/2 cup of our cold water. Just kind of strain out the ice. We don't really need the ice. Drizzle it in. Add a little bit more to start. Add a couple more tablespoons. And then just kind of toss it all together. Don't knead it. Don't fold it or squeeze it. Just kind of toss everything together. And eventually it'll come together into a sort of crumbly dough. Shouldn't be too crumbly though. When you press it together, it should come together nicely. Which this is starting to. You can see little bits of it are forming. Still see the idea is I'm trying not to handle it too much. All right, looks good. I want to add a little bit more liquid. Hey, get out of there, ice cube. What bowl should I use? You should use something that, I don't know, any kind of deep bowl that holds it, I guess. Is that raw chicken? No, it's not. Over there, that's ground turkey. It's frozen. Gassy Van, we don't talk like that here. I don't know why someone hasn't banned you yet. There we go. There we go. The sadness is left. All right. Goodness, I need more mods. What's that thing moving the oven? Moving the oven? What are you talking about? Anyway. Why was he first to be called out? Because, I don't know, he was the first in my radar. God, why are you grilling me? What we should be left with is this dough that comes together. You can see it's kind of crumbly, but holds its shape. Watch this. I'm just going to press it gently together. There we go. And you can see, just after a little bit of patting, it comes together into a dough. All right. Now we can give it its break. It needs a little bit of a rest in the fridge to relax. What I'm trying to do here with the relaxation is not only to give the fat in it a bit of time to chill, I also want to give the gluten in it a bit of time to chill. Gluten is what gives artisan bread its nice chewy texture. We don't really want that though in our pie dough because we don't want chewy, crusty pie dough. We want tender, flaky pie dough. So if we have a lot of gluten development, it'll be kind of bad. So chilling just helps the gluten proteins relax. Into the fridge it goes. And this can go into the sink. Oof, wash my greasy hands. But honestly, wasn't that simple? Just some butter, shortening, sugar, flour, and water. Like, I can't think of many pie doughs that are any simpler. And the ones that are aren't very good. Now, we have created the pie part of our pie, but we haven't created the apple part yet. So I feel like that's the next thing in line to be made. Apple pie can really be made with any apple, although I wouldn't advise using many apples for it, simply because there's better apples for apple pie and there are not so good apples for apple pie. I would suggest you use any kind of firm cooking apple. There are a few different kinds of apples in the world. There's cooking apples, there's dessert apples, and there's cider apples. Cooking apples are like Granny Smith's, the green kind, or as I'm going to use some Golden Delicious apples. Those kind of were going between being a cooking and a dessert apple. Dessert apples, though, are basically any kind of apple, like a Red Delicious or a Gala, that are meant to be eaten just as is. It's weird though, right? Dessert apples aren't meant to be put in desserts, they're meant to be eaten as a dessert. Whereas cooking apples are meant to be cooked. And cider apples are, no surprise there, meant to be pressed into cider. Not a big fan of any of those though, because I don't drink apple cider or really alcohol in general. Nor do I smoke or drink coffee or eat pork, all for the same reason. Because I don't like it. Wiping up my surface here, get rid of all that flour. I've got here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Golden Delicious apples. I chose these because they have a good deal of juice inside of them, but at the same time, they've got a good, strong, firm body. I want something that has a bit of a firm body, so that way when we cook it on the stove and then in the oven, oof, hair flip, they don't disintegrate into mush. We don't want mush pie, we want apple pie. Thoughts on lard instead of vegetable shortening? If it's a strained lard that doesn't carry a particularly strong meaty taste, go for it. They both serve the same purpose. I mean, really any kind of non-butter fat would be fine as long as it's not an emulsion of water, like butter. Here we go. I'm gonna get myself a cutting board, my apples, line them up in a little line. Hey, get up there. Put them in a line, snake them around. Hey, the goodness gracious, this one won't stand up. Okay, fine then. You want to be a smart aleck? I see how it is. We get the big, edgy, creepy pasta knife. Slice your butt off. There. Line them up. Here's the first one. What I'm going to do is first peel the apples, and then we're going to slice them into about 1/2-inch wedges. Just peel your fruit, and oh my gosh, I am such a big proponent for eating the skin of fruit, but honestly, you can't really get a good texture and an easy cutting pie if you don't peel the apples first. I know I always talk about how apples especially have about 1/3 of their nutrients inside their skin, so you're really better off eating the skin than the apple itself. But we just can't make a proper apple pie that's going to cut nicely if we don't peel them. The reason being, clearly, I just said it, if we try to cut this apple pie with the wedges that still have skin on, they'll snag on the knife and we'll just end up mashing the pie because it won't cut properly. We'll just mash the inside of the pie. It'll kind of dangle, not look very nice. So if we want a beautifully cutting apple pie that also holds its shape, we need to peel the skin. Sad, I know. How would it taste if you chopped the skin and added it in? I mean, it wouldn't taste any different. It's still apple, but it probably would throw off the texture. That's the main reason I'm not putting the skin in. It's not because the flavor isn't nice. But once you've peeled your apple, I'm going to slice it as close to the core as I can. Oh, hair flip. 4 times to cut it into 4 little segments. I'm going to take each of these and slice them into some 1/2-inch wedges. Go. Just kind of curl your fingers to keep your fingertips from being cut off by the knife, and then grip the knife by pinching it, holding the knife with 3 fingers, then pinching the tip of the blade up here where it connects to the handle with the first 2 fingers. This keeps all your fingers clear out of the knife's path. So yeah, it's really a matter of taste. Granny Smith's work particularly well in this dish. However, they're a bit dry for my liking. And I want to use an apple that has a bit of juice to it because we need to make this gooey. And how we're going to make this gooey is by adding things like sugar and cornstarch and using the natural pectin that's inside of apples to help make everything nice and jammy and thick and gooey on the inside. Could you please explain the colder bar thing you talked about, please? What? I'm so confused. Could you maybe give some context, please? I'd be more than happy to explain if I knew what you were talking about. Colder bar. No staff tonight? That's good. I mean, is it good? I kind of like the staff. They're nice people. Usually when staff come in, except for maybe that one time, there have been very nice people. One of them put me on the Twitch front page. The other one said she was jealous of my kitchen. And another one said they wanted to steal my stand mixer. So I'm kind of excited about that. Go. I'm just tossing them into this bowl, and I'll show you what we're going to do in a minute. I just want to get all these apples prepared first. Butter bar. The butter should be cold because if it's warm, the composition changes. XOXOXO. Absolutely. 10 points to SMS Bangers. Here's how this works. Butter, I've said it before. I just said it a few minutes ago too. I'm sorry if I'm sounding like a broken record. But someone asked the question, and we always answer questions here on the Bakington Show. Butter is an emulsion of fat, milk solids, and water. And if we had the butter melted, if it melted while we were manhandling the dough because our hands are very warm, hair flip, it would, all that water would be soaked up into the dough. The pastry would be really greasy, and it would just not come together nicely. It'd be really oily and kind of seeping and not very tender and flaky. So by keeping the butter cold, we keep the butter from melting until it goes into the oven. Once it goes into the oven, the bits of water we've emulsed through the dough are going to instantaneously turn to steam. Almost, not really instantaneously. They're going to turn to steam. Then they're going to get set in place. Those bubbles are going to get set in place by the fat cooking the flour starches. Hooah. 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 Slice. Broken record. Yummy. Very tasty apples, by the way. A bit tart. Oh, that's good. We don't really want a sweet apple for this. That's why I said try and pick a cooking apple, not a dessert apple. Simply because sweet apples are really sweet. Duh. And they end up being too sweet for the pie. Also, they don't hold up very well. Things like Red Delicious or Gala apples will just sort of turn to mush when you try to cook with them. These have a bit more pectin in them and a bit more, they're a bit drier apples, so they have a bit more of a hold on their bodies. When they cook, they're not going to just turn into applesauce. Ooh, boy, this one's a firm little beastie. I think it was frozen. Yeah, definitely. Have I watched the PR marathon? PR? Power Rangers? No. I was never one for Power Rangers growing up. Must I use sugar? Can I use Fuji apples instead? Probably not. And maybe, and probably not. Fuji apples aren't particularly good for that kind of thing. Sugar, you don't have to add sugar. If you don't like sugar, use something like honey. Or if you want to rely solely on the sweetness of the apples, go ahead and try that. It's not going to taste particularly apple pie-like, but, I mean, whatever jangles your possums, I suppose. Different pies for different guys. Your chat isn't working? Well, then how are you telling me that your chat's not working? Honestly, peeling apples is one of the most tedious things, along with peeling potatoes, and probably chopping onions are my least favorite tasks in the kitchen. There we go. Perfect. Once again, I'm just going to... there we go. Perfect. Oh, wait. Lovely. Pie tends to be too sweet for me in general. That's strange. Maybe you've just not had a good pie. Pies shouldn't be overly sweet. They should have the flavor of whatever you're putting in them. No, there's no such thing as a stupid question in the Bakington show. You have to ask these questions because I won't always be there for you. Sometimes you have to try these things on your own, and you'll have to think, did I learn about this already? If the answer is yes, you'll know the question. The answer. If the answer to your question is yes, then yes, you'll know the question. I didn't even know what I just said there. I want you to ask questions now so you can go off and try these things on your own. So don't be afraid to ask the dumb questions, even though they're not dumb questions. They might feel dumb at the moment. But I'm sure other people have the same question. God, I sound like such a 5th grade teacher. Goodness gracious. Probably because I am. Sweet. Slice. 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 There you go. I wish I had an apple core, because then I could use a lot more of the apple. I just don't. Ooh, boy, we got tons of apples today. Two more to go. It's not really juggling with two. Do. So, what is your favorite kind of pie? I'm quite partial to any kind of pie that doesn't have too much like stuff in it. I like things really simple. I'm a simple person with a simple taste. So I'm not really into the kind of really fancy fig and almond and blackberry tarts. I'm pretty boring. I don't have lemon juice. What can I use to keep my apples from turning brown? If you don't have lemon juice, here's actually a really good answer, because we're going to be using lemon juice and some apple cider vinegar. It's also a really good vinegar. Any kind of acid, like apple cider vinegar or maybe if you want to even use balsamic vinegar, try that out. Any kind of acid you have will work. It's not lemon juice that works, it's just acid that keeps the apples from browning. Orange juice. There you go. All right, we're at our last apple. Are you guys ready? Are you ready? I'm excited. Thank you for the answer. Of course, anytime. If you have any more questions, come by. I'm here to help. Slice, 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 slice. Lemon meringue pie. Ooh, that's a fun one. I do quite like making lemon meringue pie just because I like to make big, fancy meringues. I haven't made a lemon meringue pie in ages. That's true. Oh my goodness. You're onto something there. You get a gold star. You don't want to make your wedges too thick or too thin, kind of whatever size they are, although I'd advise them to be about a ½ an inch thick. Try and make all your wedges about the same size, simply because they'll cook the same at the same rate. I always talk about it, blah, 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 blah. Again, I'm a broken record. Surface area to volume ratio is very important here. If we have big chunks of apple and really tiny pieces of apple, the little pieces are going to be cooked way faster just because they have a wider surface area for their volume. Means more surface contact with the heat, more heat penetration, which means quicker cooking. If we have, say, an apple slice this big versus an entire apple, the apple slice will cook faster just because it has a wider surface area for its volume. So we don't want to make some of our pie raw when we take it out. You dig? Ah, I dropped a core. All right. My pants are falling down. Here we go. I've got myself, where are my lemons? Here we go. Do you upload past broadcasts on YouTube for us to see? Sometimes I do. I haven't in a while. I probably will today, now that you asked. But I have a few past broadcasts. You can check out my YouTube channel down below. Someone could also do !YouTube in the chat, Lord Bakington on YouTube. A few little things on YouTube. Also, series of really fast recipes that didn't quite warrant their own stream called Bakington's Bites is also there for you. Also coming up is a new series. Let me just squeeze my lemon juice in there while I talk. The juice of 2 small lemons. A new series coming up. I have 2 of the episodes now recorded. They just need to be edited now. For a new series for Bakington called Yu-Gi-Oh, because I'm like addicted to the Yu-Gi-Oh, the game. Addicted, like unhealthy addicted, of Yu-Gi-Oh themed food. I've made one for, it's called Yu-Gi-Oh, for a Madolche Mille-Fois, which is the card Madolche Mille-Fois as a mille-fois. Mille-Fois is a French dish. It's puff pastry with pastry cream and fruit layered really pretty with a sort of glaze on top. Very beautiful stuff. Then I've also made a Blue Eyes white jelly using agar-agar and coconut water and coconut milk. It's a very pretty jelly. It's a Thai jelly. Everything in there is Thai. Coconut milk, agar-agar. The recipe itself is Thai. Looks really pretty too. It sets really incredibly. Doesn't use gelatin, even though it's a jelly. It's super jiggly, but no gelatin is in there. It's vegetarian, and I guess vegan, too. I didn't put any dairy in there. Seeds. We'll get you, seed. There you are. Don't you run from me. Get out of there. Oh, hey. Thank you. Thanks, M60. M60 is the best, isn't he? Ah, there we go. There we go. The juice of 2 small lemons. Now I'm going to add a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar as well, just to enhance the appley flavor. I'm going to use the good quality unfiltered apple cider vinegar. My hands are too slippery. There we go. They were too slippery to open the bottle. I'm also going to grab a few other ingredients. Those being some vanilla extract, some ground nutmeg, some cinnamon, and some ginger powder. Where are you? Let's bring these over. In my spice pile, I'm gonna need some nutmeg. Oof, my voice cracked. Some nutmeg. I'm not going through puberty, I swear. Ginger. And the cinnamon's over there on my coffee table. Not coffee table, coffee nook, even though I don't drink coffee. There's the three. I'm also going to need some cornstarch. Cornstarch is absolutely vital in today's dish because it's what's going to make our pie absolutely gooey. The towel can go over there for now. Move my apple shrapnel out of the way. I'm going to take about 1/4 teaspoon of salt, very important as well. You'll see why in a minute. Sprinkle it over my apples. A little bit of salt helps bring out the flavor in your pie. And I'm going to add a tablespoon of white sugar to my apples. Just sprinkle it on top. And I'm going to take a couple spoons. Actually, I'm going to save my spoons and use my spatula that I'm going to cook all this in. Hey! Give everything a really good, the vinegar. Tasty, tasty apple cider vinegar. Just that little bit really changes it. But I'm going to give all of this a toss in the salt, sugar, lemon juice, and vinegar. And you'll see why in a minute. What I'm trying to do is draw out a lot of the juices from these apples already. It's sort of locked up inside little compartments inside every apple cell called a vacuole. And I want to make these apples covered in salt and sugar because that will start an osmotic reaction and they'll start releasing a lot of their juices. As you can see, there's already a bit of juice piling up at the bottom. It'll take about 5 or 6 minutes for this to happen. It'll start getting really juicy in here. But I want to suck out some of that juice so that way we have a nice gooey filling. Because the more juice I can coax out of it, the better. All right, that looks good. We put this off to the side while we work on the next part of our dish. Apple pie requires a very, very delicate blend of spices. So I'm going to blend those spices while we wait. In a little bowl. You should make your own cookbook. I'm planning on it. I know someone. Okay, I don't. It's not that I just know her. She's my sister. She writes books for a living, and she wants to write a. I want my cookbook to be like a children's storybook with a bunch of recipes blended through it. I just don't know what it's going to be about yet. Why not use brown sugar? I am going to be using brown sugar later on. That was just 1 tablespoon to help suck some of the liquid out. And then the brown sugar is going to come in later once we start putting everything on the stove. Never fear. All right, into a little bowl. I'm going to add in one. It's stuck. Cinnamon challenge. Ugh. Fine. I'll put in 2 half teaspoons of cinnamon. Or rather 1 full teaspoon if I can get it in there. Brendanence. We don't talk like that here, thank you. I'm going to add in 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger and 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. Nutmeg is pretty powerful, so I don't want to put too much of that in. This little puffer lid never fails to irk me. There we go. Ta-da! And we've created a little blend of spices for our pie. The thing is, you can go as heavy or as light with these spices as you want. But personally, I feel like apple pie should have a balance between the sweetness of the apples, like the natural sweet flavor of apple, with the sort of apple pie spices. You could also do the easy option and buy yourself a bottle of apple pie spice mix. I mean, it's up to you. Beautiful. All right, let's head over to the stove so we can check out what we have over there to make our apple pie. Where'd my mouse go? Ta-da! I got myself a big, deep skillet here. I'm going to turn it on to a medium-high heat. And I'm going to add a few tablespoons of butter. This is just going to help cook everything. Are you ready? 4 tablespoons of butter goes in. We'll let that melt over a medium-high heat. Meanwhile, I'm going to give my apples a quick toss. I'm going to bring them over to the stove. I'm going to set them. See the apples here? They're getting nice and juicy. Set them over here for now while I melt my butter. Chop your butter if you feel the need to. Helps break it up. Blake it up? No, we're not blaking anything up. Who's Blake? I mean, if you see a recipe that involves cooking butter and brown sugar together, I'm pretty certain it's going to be really good. That's a beautiful stove. Thank you. I quite like my stove. All right. Now I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Just to start, we're going to add a little bit more later. You can add between a half and a cup of brown sugar, depending on how sweet you like your pie. I'm going to start with 2 tablespoons just to make a little quick caramel. And I'm going to add another half cup later on, because I like my pie mildly sweet. Kind of like me, only mildly sweet. See that? Doesn't that already look super good? I tell you, once you try this pie, you're going to love it. This pie is honestly the simplest pie I know how to make, just because, I mean, there are simpler pies, but they don't taste as nice. This one just has a wonderful, wonderful flavor because we put a little bit of time and effort into making sure we have a gooey, gooey body. You can see now that sugar is beginning to melt because butter can get pretty hot. And the sugar is now sort of mixing and melting into the butter and becoming a bit more of a thick, gooey sort of consistency. And you can also see lots of bubbles forming. That's the water in the butter. Remember how I said there's water in butter? Evaporating off. Once it stops foaming, that's how you know your butter has drawn off all the water. See? See all the little bubbles? Let me just check this real quick. Yes! All right. You hear that? There's a lot of juice at the bottom of that. See? See all those juices we pulled out of those apples? Because of that salt and sugar we added onto them? You can also hear the fizzling. Turn the heat down. Let it cool slightly. Don't want this butter to burn. If you let your butter burn, it'll turn dark brown. It'll take a really acrid taste on. So don't do that. But I'm going to add in my apples with all their juices. Give all this a toss. Ooh boy, getting kind of full in here. Toss everything in the juice. I'm going to cook this now for a few minutes until it softens slightly and things get really juicy. Ta-da! Now, I can add in my spices. And a further half a cup of brown sugar. Where's my other half cup measure? And we're just going to mix all this together until it becomes super duper gooey. Pack the brown sugar. Make sure to pack your brown sugar before you put it in. And you can add in another quarter cup of brown sugar if you feel so inclined. I particularly enjoy a slightly sweet pie, not something like bash you over the head with sugar sweet. There we go. But you can see all the juice we've got at the bottom of the pan. Ooh boy, this is going to be hard to stir. Grab onto it, hold on, have no fear. Just scoop underneath it and toss the apples around. Make sure they're all coated in the spices. See how there's a few apples that are hogging all the spice? How rude. Sweet, look at that. Things are getting really, really delicious in here. It smells super good too now that things are starting to cook. What we're doing is softening the apples before they go into the pie. I'm going to have to clean that up later. I'm going to soften my apples before they go into the pie. And we're going to add some cornstarch into this to help thicken it up and make a really gooey inner filling. There we go. That looks good. Things are well mixed, so I'm going to let this sit. Also, to enhance the flavor and add a bit more liquid, here in my tea kettle, I've got myself some canela. Canela, for those of you who don't know, is a drink. I don't know where it comes from. I know that I'm Hispanic and I drink it. It's made out of just boiled cinnamon sticks. I'm going to add in a touch of that, add a bit more liquid, and a bit more, a little bit more cinnamon flavor. You don't have to add that. You can just add a little bit more water or apple juice too. But I want to add a little bit more liquid. See how nice and juicy it is in there? I'm going to let these apples stew in their liquid. Press it down. And we'll let them sit for a little while. Try to push them as best you can into the liquid. Eat one for us? Eat one what? An apple? I need these apples. Press, 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 press. You can see how it's bubbling at the corners. That's good. All right, I'm going to turn this heat down to about a simmer, and we're going to let these cook for about 5 to 10 minutes. Meanwhile, let's head back over to the countertop so we can start rolling out our pie dough. And we're fixed. There we go. You can see I've got a big mess here with lots of spices everywhere, but I'll soon clean this up so we can start rolling out our pie dough. Very simple stuff, the pie dough. That doesn't go on there. Hi, Kelly Cat. How's it going? How are you today? You're just in time to see us finish our pie. We're making apple pie, and then we're going to help Lady Bakington make dinner for my father today by helping her put her meatloaf in the oven and make some mashed potatoes, some Bakington-style mashed potatoes. I say, Kelly Cat, make dinner for my father because I don't like meatloaf or mashed potatoes, so I'll probably just end up having chicken nuggets. There we go. Put all this, maybe keep the whisk out, away. I'm going to scrape all that cinnamon I spilled on my counter off. There we go. I'm going to get my little rag I got here, my cleaning rag. I'm going to wipe everything down. Sweep off all my counter into the sink because it can just wash it down the drain that way. Meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Ugh. 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 Meatloaf and mashed potatoes make me think bad times. Yes, I just drank the pastry water. I was thirsty. Are we good? Yes, we are. Ooh boy, our apples are simmering away over there. And my pastry should be nice and cold by now. We've let it sit for about 20 minutes. Ooh, yes, very cold. You can see it's much firmer than it was before. So I'm going to keep that flour I reserved, sprinkle it on my surface, wipe it around. Then I'm going to take my flour and my dough, plop my dough onto my floured surface, and we can roll it out into a lid and a base. There we go. Where's my, here we go. My rolling pin, I got to get my rolling pin, the big rolling pin today, and a pie pan. I'm going to be using this deep flan tray today. You can use whatever you like. Ah, this is 2 flan trays in one. We'll have to liberate one in a minute. My pants are falling down. My pants are falling down. Watch this, watch. There was 2 in here. Which one do you think, the smaller one or the bigger one? I'm partial to the bigger one. It is 9 inches, and this one is 10 inches. I'm quite partial to this one. But I think for the size of our pie and the amount of apples we've got, we'll probably have to be using this one. I'm going to take a big knife, cut my dough into about half, a little bit, one should be a little bit larger than the other. Set one to the side. I'm actually going to wrap this back up and put it in the fridge for now. And then, ooh boy, sprinkle a little more flour, just make sure nothing sticks. There's nothing worse, I have to say, nothing worse than rolling out beautiful pastry, only to have it stick to your surface. Don't let that happen to you. There you go. I'm going to take some flour, cup your hand, and just rub the flour onto your rolling pin. Hair flip. But yeah, Kelly Cat, how's your day? My day was pretty uneventful. I'm going to beat the dough up a little bit, pat it out. All right. Also, it's kind of important to keep your dough mobile, so every now and again just kind of flip it over in between rolls. So I'm going to roll it out to about 2 inches wider than the base of my pie pan. Hi Zeddies, or ZX, Zaza Gabor. The special assignment today is we're supposed to be making mashed potatoes and meatloaf for Lady Bakington. She has to go to her lady empowerment meeting. She's something, can't remember what. It's not even that much of a lady empowerment thing. She's the new president-elect of the League of Mexican American Women. That's what that is. League of Mexican American Women. And so she has to go to a meeting today, and so I'm going to make dinner for my dad. Go. See how easy this dough rolls out? Watch, I'm going to flip it over. It shouldn't stick at all because we were diligent with the flouring of the surface. Beautiful. Zaza Gabor. Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't say your name properly. Lady Bakington is so pretty. She is awesome. Thank you. She's my mother. I love her so much. She does so much, honestly. Both my parents are such active in the community people. It's kind of intimidating sometimes. Now, if you want to move your pastry, fold it into quarters like that, then lift it up. Bring your pie pan over. Place it into a corner of your pie pan, and then unfold. And look, you've moved your pastry into your pie pan without any stress. Look at that. No tearing, no stress. If there is a little bit of tearing, that's okay. But overlap your pastry over the pie pan as best you can. He's Lord Bakington Sr. There we go, that ought to do it. I'm going to leave this overlapped now. I'm going to put this back in the freezer to chill it while, not in the freezer, the fridge, so it can relax and cool down after all that rolling out. And then once our filling is cooked and cooled, we can start assembling our pie. I was just explaining to everyone, Kelly Cat, that I'm going to be making mashed potatoes, meatloaf, and apple pie, and I can't imagine a more classic Americana dish, like combination. That sounds like a 60s TV dinner, doesn't it? Well, let's head back over to the stove so we can check out what our apples have been doing while we've been away. Where'd my mouse go? There it is. Goodness, you ran away. Ta-da, look how gooey and bubbly everything is in here. Look at all that juice we got. Things are softening up nicely. I'm going to give this a stir. Make sure that everything's well coated in the hot juice. But no, really, this is all going to turn into delicious, luscious goop when it bakes, with the aid of some cornstarch in a minute. I'm going to push everything back down. I'm going to test them. To see if they're ready, you should poke it with a fork, and if it feels slightly tender, this is nowhere near tender. That side is, though. It'll be ready, but these are still in the process of cooking. Press them down again. There we go. Perfect. I'll let these cook a little bit longer until they're nice and soft. It's important to use a firm apple so that way these don't turn into mush. How gooey is this apple pie? Amazingly gooey. But no, yeah, my mother's busy being running the, I don't know, empowering Mexican American women. Thankfully, she didn't leave me the job to actually make the meatloaf. I just have to put it together. Whew. Wow. I was thirsty. Gosh, talking up a storm really makes you thirsty. Where is my giant bottle? Where's my big old beer? In the words of Cat Bug, my all-time favorite character. Where's my big old beer? Is it gone? Did I drink that entire 2-liter bottle of soda in one day? I'm almost certain I didn't. Oh well. Considering I can't find the big old beer, I'll just have to drink a little beer. It's not real beer, it's just root beer. As I said before, I don't drink alcohol, or smoke, or eat pork. Anyway, let's check back. The apples are looking good. Why don't we try rolling out the lid for, nah, I don't really want to roll the lid out yet. Seriously, amazing lady, I know, right? It's difficult being related to really fancy go-getter type people, because then you're pressured to be a good, super fancy person as well. When in reality, I just go to school, then go home and lay in my bed and watch and play Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, I don't do much of my own. Pork is amazing. We're all entitled to our opinions. All right, these apples are looking kind of good now. I think it's safe to start rolling out our pie pastry now. I'm going to bring my pie out. Nah, I'll leave the pie in there. Goodness, Bakington, figure out what you're actually going to do before you say it. I'm going to roll out my lid. I'm going to let that chill while we wait on everything else. Ooh, it's nice and firm. Oh my gosh, M60, thank you so much for the 2 pies. You're the best. Speaking of pie.
You gotta do the cooking by the book. You know you can't be lazy. Never use a messy recipe. The cake will end up crazy. If you do the cooking by the book, then you'll have a cake.
Oh my gosh, M60, thank you for the 2 pies. You're the best. Wow, thank you. I had to do a dance there to celebrate. I think I might have, no, I got a little bit of flour left. Oh wow, indeed. Yeah, that was my donation dance. For those of you who are new to the stream, whenever I get a donation, regardless of the size, usually it's $2 to trigger me, I dance. I dance to my dance song. I'm gonna roll my pastry out, keep it mobile so that way it doesn't stick. Oh my gosh, Sammy! Sammy D, how's it going? Oh my gosh, you're just in time for apple pie. You're staying for pie, aren't you? I'm rolling out the lid right now for apple pie. I've got my apples simmering away on the stove. I've added, for those of you who probably missed it and who are new to the stream today, I added about halfway into the cooking, no, about 5 minutes into the cooking or so, I added in about a half a cup of boiled cinnamon stick water, which is what we call canela. But you don't have to add that in. You can add any other kind of liquid you like, maybe some apple-flavored alcohol, or if you drink booze, or some regular water, or some apple juice, something to give it a bit more liquid. So that way it's a bit more, it's a bit more liquid and juicy. So that way there's a bit more for that cornstarch to bind to. I've rolled my pastry out, so I'm going to just fold it up, put it back in the freezer so we can unroll it when it's time to assemble the pie. But no, hi Sammy, how's it going? How was your stream? Did you stream today? Are you streaming later? Should I host you after this? Oh boy, you guys got to see this. Things are bubbling away. Looks real crazy in there. That's because we added that little bit of salt to bring out all those delicious juices from those apples. Look at that. Look at all that juice. Also, while this has been simmering away, those apples have been steeping all that cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger powder into the apple juice itself. Plus, there's natural pectin inside these apples. Pectin, for those of you who don't know, is that stuff that makes preserves and jam thick. It's found naturally in apples. Pectin is a product of fruits. It's a sort of chain of glucose molecules in a polymer that binds to large amounts of water. Similarly to how things like in potatoes or amylopectin and amylose are in starches. So things like what makes dough sticky when you add water to it is the amylose and amylopectin in the starches of grains attaches itself to the, goodness Bakington, figure out what you're going to say, attaches itself to all the water, binds to large amounts of water to make things gooey and sticky. That's why water doesn't pass through flour the same way it passes through, say, sand. Sand doesn't have anything to bind to the water, so the water just passes right through the sand. But you can see this is thickened up quite nicely. You've got some nice tender pieces of apple in there. I'm going to let these sit for a little bit longer, but while they're simmering away now, I'm going to start making what's going to bind everything together. You're beautiful, Lord Bakington. Thank you, Sammy. You're beautiful too. I wish I was as beautiful as you. I wish I was as good as I wish I was as good at putting together Lego sets as you are. I tried putting one together with the boys that I nanny for, and it was a hot mess. I can't lie. It was a hot mess. So honestly, I'm super jealous of you. I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of cornstarch to start. Open it up. You need to add cornstarch with a little bit of liquid. So I'm going to add my cornstarch with a little bit more cinnamon water. Just a little bit of my cinnamon water. Look at how pretty that color is. And then mix it. Where's my little tiny baby whisk? Here it is. The little baby whisk. Get your little baby whisk. Whisk all this together until everything's dissolved. So we're making apple pie the classic? Absolutely. There we go. Looks good. Don't feel any more bits. You're pretty. Thank you. You're prettier. Bubble, bubble, bubble. You are streaming later? Oh, I can't wait to see that then. All right, here we go. Get your spatulas ready because this might thicken up too quickly for us. Pour in your starch. Give it a mix. And you should see magic chemistry happening right before your very eyes. Watch this. It looks super, super liquid and juicy right now. I'm going to raise the heat a bit, and we're going to raise the roof as well. And you'll notice that, watch, don't blink, you're going to miss it, you're going to miss it, you're going to miss it. Ah! this is going to turn into sticky goo. And who doesn't love some sticky goo? I do. McDonald's, when is M60 getting on? I don't know. This isn't his stream. You should probably ask him yourself. You'll see now, if we added enough starch in, this should start to get really thick. It's not really getting thick, though. We need to bring this up to a boil, though. We need to activate those starches by heating it up. So that's why I'm kind of reserving my judgment right now. It's getting sort of thick. You can see, watch this, look. You can see it dribbles in long, thickish trails. And it does feel quite thick. So I'm pretty sure this is almost ready. Where the hell? Hi, Histy Joe? Histy Joe, hi. You're here from High Five stream? How was it? High Five is like one of my really cool streamer friends. Like I'm friends with a lot of cool streamers. I'm just not a cool streamer myself. And he was nice enough to host me. But look at that. See? You missed it. You missed it. Look at that. See how juicy and thick this is now? Look at that. Look how thick these apples are. We're talking May from Overwatch thick. See that? This is what you could have. Look at all that. Look at all those goo trails coming off my spatula. All those thicky goo trails. Looks good. Thick. 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 Perfect. Now this is ready to go into our pie. I'm going to turn the heat off completely and leave this to sit for about 5 minutes now until everything cools down. Phase Apex is here. But look at that. See? That little bit of starch helped turn our apples into this thick, gooey mess we got here. And our apples, watch this, look, are soft now. Partially softened by the heat and cooking, and they'll continue to cook for the next half hour while they go into the oven. All right, I'm going to leave these alone now so they can cool. Who's ready for pie assembly? We've only got one more thing to do. I'm actually going to take these off the heat completely, just move them away from the heat. And I'll put them over here, next to my big old beer. And we're back. Okay, we've got one more thing to do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. There we go. Before we can assemble our pie, while this is cooling, because I don't want to add boiling hot goop into my pie, it'll melt the pie dough, I'm going to crack an egg into a bowl. Ooh, boy. I'm going to pop it with my little whisk and mix it all together to create a little bit of an egg wash. Where's my little baby whisk? There we go. An egg wash. Pop. Mix it up. An egg wash to glaze the top of my pastry, make it nice and brown. You can use egg or milk if you're vegetarian, or you could use soy milk if you're vegan. If you're super vegan, you could use water. Do you have a YouTube? Yes, I do. Someone could do !YouTube in the chat. You'll be able to find my YouTube channel. I have a short series called Bakington's Bites on that channel, where it's a short series of videos that didn't quite merit their own stream. And I have a new series coming up called Yum-Gi-Oh! Of Yu-Gi-Oh! Inspired food, because I'm absolutely addicted to that show. I'm not a big fan of the show per se. I like the game, though. Also, there's a few archived streams that I had a lot of fun doing, including probably this one. I've had a lot of fun doing this one today. I bet you have no idea what you're doing. No, I do. I went to school for this. Get on my level. There we go. Nice little egg wash there. You want to beat it until you don't see any more streaks of egg white, because that will not really apply itself well to your pie top. We're just beating it. Yes, Kelly Cat, this is a little piggy whisk. I also have a little piggy spatula that I'll probably be using later. Ooh boy, things are getting slippery and hot in here. That's so good. They're soft, but not mushy. They really held their shape really well, which means they're going to hold their shape pretty well when they go into the pie. But I want to make sure it cools first. Eggs and apples, really? Wash my hands. Whew. It's getting a little warm in here, isn't it? I gotta get my dab on. You want to make cartoons? That's cool. Have fun living off of food stamps. Ooh. I'm just joking. Animation's a really cool field to go into. I'm sure it probably will pay pretty well. I just personally wouldn't do it myself. I mean, I already picked one low-paying profession, that's cooking. I'm really not one to talk. Gotta get a sip of that beer. All right, these are looking good. They're nice and jiggly and goopy. I have kind of a strange job. What do you do? Do you work the corners too? Give them a mix. I'm just going to beat some of that steam out of these. By mixing them around, we're exposing them to the cool air. And helps drive out some of that heat. You can see all the steam coming off of it when I do that. But again, I have to show you guys. Look how gooey this is. Look at that. Super gooey. One way you can tell is when you drag your spatula or spoon or whatever you're using through your pan, you should be able to see the bottom, and the goop should slowly come together to close up the gap you made. You're an acrobat? Ooh, that's cool. You're cool. You're instantly cooler than everyone else in the stream now. What's that like? Is it cool? Is it fun? Is it stressful? It sounds stressful. I'm sure it probably would be stressful. Ooh, and a programmer. Gosh, my stream's full of high rollers. All right, I'm going to get out my pastry and my pie bottom so we can begin the assembly. Got my pie bottom, my pastry here. So first things first, amaryllis. I'm going to fill the pastry with the pie. Get all that lovely created goop out of there. Scrape the pan. You worked really hard to get all this juice nice and slimy and goopy and gooey, so you might as well get all of it. Spread it around. There we go. Lovely. All right. Now, and a juggler, but mainly a street performer. That's so cool, honestly. Oh boy. I'm going to take my pie top, slap it onto the top of my pastry, peel back the plastic, fold it over. There we go. Adjust it as necessary. Kind of pinch together any holes you might find. And now what I'm going to do is kind of crimp the edges together with my pie just by pinching the two. Actually, no. To start, I'm going to take my pie and just trim the excess off where the two pieces of pastry meet. There we go. I made a hole. I'm using my big, edgy, creepypasta knife today because I need something that will cut through my pastry but not pull at it. Just kind of slice the pastry excess off. There we go. I'm going to keep this back to fill up any holes. And I'm going to crimp the two edges of my pastry together to form a lid. There we go. Kind of spin the pie as you go. Make a raised lip. That way it looks like your grandma worked all day on it, when in reality, it was just some weird kid on the internet. I went to the gym this morning, and someone thought I was 14. I had to tell them I was 20. And I guess, to be fair, I was wearing like my gym outfit, which kind of looks like I'm a 5-year-old. It looks a bit, it's a weird looking setup, but yeah, it was weird. Sweet. Got my pastry all sealed up. I'm going to poke a few holes, just stab a few holes in the top to let some steam out. Then I'm going to brush the top all over with the egg. Are you 20? Yes, I'm 20. There we go. Brush the pie all over with your egg. And then this is going to go into a 420-degree oven for half an hour. Also, here's a little tip. Position it on the lowest, like a medium-low rack on your oven, so that way things don't get too brown on the top before the inside's cooked. There we go. Now this baby can go in the oven. Wah, 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 pie baby, pie baby. It looks so cute, you guys. My little pie is all grown up. I'm going to gather these bits of pastry up. Keep them in my fridge. I don't really know what I'm going to do with them, but I don't want to throw this away. I've spent too long making this pastry. All right. Now, no more fooling around, guys. We've made our apple pie. Now it's time to conquer the challenge set forth by Lady Bakington on us. That is to say, we need to make our mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes really are so simple, and it really does need your creativity to make it special. I personally like adding things like, I like adding a lot of black pepper, a lot of salt, a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of garlic powder, some Parmesan cheese, fun things like that, lots of butter, lots of milk. But really, it's up to you. First things first, I need to clean up my surface. I've got a huge mess. I actually want to try my apple goop. Ooh, that is so good. Oh, that is good. Oh, wow. Oh. Oh, man. Ooh. Fancy. You can really taste, it's not super sweet. It's got that really tart apple flavor to it. This sort of like underlying sweet note. And then you get all those spices just all over your mouth. Oh, that's beautiful. Now wash my knife real quick. My edgy, creepypasta knife. The ones that all the 12-year-olds on DeviantArt like to talk about. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. One of my favorite hobbies is to go on websites like Wattpad or DeviantArt and not read the really good creepypastas, because there are some good creepypasta stories out there that really genuinely kind of make my spine tingle and my nose quiver. But I like to read the really horrible ones because they all have the same plot, and I like to laugh at them because they're super funny. It's always X character is some kind of either between 12 to 15-year-old, super edgy, very dark, was bullied or has abusive parents or misunderstood by society or all three, goes crazy for no reason, or by some really, really dumb reason, clearly is not well in the head, uses some giant knife to kill everyone in their path. Edgy. The end. That's really how they go. It makes me laugh. Wipe up my egg. All right, we need to prepare some potatoes. I'm going to get out the red file folder. You got to go. See you later. Bye, Histy Joe. I don't know how to say your name if that's right. We need some potatoes to start. So I'm going to grab myself a couple handfuls of russet potatoes. You can use any kind of potato, really. There are a few, though, that are actually meant for boiling. Things like russet potatoes or Yukon potatoes or I wouldn't say Maris Piper are good ones. I'm going to get myself a couple potatoes. Mr. Nightmare? No. I don't like things that are scary. I think that there are some really good, well-written creepypasta stories, and I can genuinely appreciate their horror value by reading them. I also like listening to audio. I listen to people read them. I like trepidatious creepypasta, or I don't even know who else. Probably my favorite, though, is the Abandoned by Disney series, just because it made me think that that was a real thing. And I didn't want to think about Disney too much, because then I was creating more monsters. You know, that's how the story works. But I like reading the really dumb ones, just because I know what they're trying to do. But the thing is, all these edgy tweens have the same sort of storyline, because they all want to have some kind of connection with their character, because they think that they themselves are some kind of edgy teen. It's just funny, that's all. The red file folder, indeed. So what I'm going to do is peel my potatoes, just so I can get all that skin off. So one of the things that I always have a problem with when making potatoes is that potatoes take a really long time to boil, and I don't have all day. So we're going to do a few things to help minimize the amount of time it's going to take. One, we're going to chop these potatoes really fine, and I'll explain why right now. As I said before, it's the same principle that applies with the apples. We're going to focus on this surface area to the volume ratio of our food. If we have potatoes that have a wide surface area for their volume, they'll cook really quickly. So if we have really tiny potatoes, those should boil in no time at all. And we'll have soft potato that will also be much easier to boil and to mash if it's in really tiny cubes. Whereas I've seen people boil the potato just like this, just in a whole potato form. That'll take forever. Also, if you do that, the shorter ends of the potato are going to be overcooked by the time the inside is cooked. If you take it out when the outside, like so, this potato is sort of beveled. It's got a really thin end over here and a fat end over here. If this was just plunged into the water and boiled, this side would be cooked quicker. It would poke through nice and even, but there would still be a hard nugget of uncooked potato on the inside. Obey the Daleks. Damn, I need to go to sleep. It's pretty late. Wow, thank you for coming by. I'm sorry for keeping you up, but thank you so much for coming by. Do-do, do-do, do-do. You learned so much. Thank you. That's so sweet of you. Honestly, I don't think I know that much, but I appreciate that you guys flatter me. Ah, these potatoes are so rough. I'm growing potatoes right now. I just seeded a few Yukon potato sets. There we go. For seeding potatoes, though, it's weird. So, have you ever left a potato in your pantry so long that it starts to sprout? That's kind of what you have to do. You have to wait until they do something called chit. And chitting, not S-H-C-H, chit, is when the potatoes start to grow and they get those little eyes and little roots and little plant stems starting to form. That's how you know you got potatoes that are ready to go in the ground. Once they start to chit, and to do that, I usually put my little potatoes about that big, the potatoes that I grow are about that big, to start at least. You take a potato, put it inside like a cardboard egg container, and you leave them in there in your pantry until those little eyes start to form. And then eventually, you'll have some little sprouting potatoes that go into the ground about 5 or 6 inches deep. Chitting in our ears. No, I'm not chitting in your ears. This is chitting. This is what you're thinking of. Honestly, okay, so here's the thing you don't know about Bakington. I like to pretend to be kind of like adult for my age. But in reality, I'm like 5. Or at least I act 5. My mother, whenever she says the word gas, like she says, "Oh, hold on, I have to stop at Costco and get some gas," I literally make the sound. She says, every time she says gas, regardless of where we are, what the context is, I'll just go, just under my breath. And she looks at me with this sad kind of like, I can't believe that my child is X years old. Ooh, green potato. Minecraft taught me not to trust you. My mother, yeah, every time my mother says gas, I literally just go. And she looks at me like I'm 5. And she thinks that she's like worried for me because I'm going to be going off to college again soon. What kind of, how am I going to survive if I think like a 5-year-old? All right, I'm going to throw all my potato skins away. Ah, get in here. That's weird. Yes, it is. That is messed up. Don't ever think that's okay. All right, now watch this. I'm going to move all my potatoes off to the side, except for one. One lucky one will be number 1. It is number 1. Dead meme. Hair flip. I'm going to slice my potatoes into really small pieces. Try again to make them as even as you can. Don't make some giant and some small. But you can see the majority of my potatoes are sort of like, I'd say 1/4-inch cubes. This is going to cook really quickly. Not like instant cooking, but fairly fast. Slice. Especially for potatoes. Potatoes are firm, dense beasts that take a long time to cook. There we go. Little cubes of potato. Slice, slice. Oh my gosh, whenever I say slice or anything like that, I think back to when I was playing through BioShock, and then there's that one guy, Atlas, at the beginning of the game, and he's like, "Goddamn splicers." Oh my gosh, when he's saying splicers, he calls them splicers. Oh, that was like my favorite line in the whole game. Just slice them real nice. I missed one. How did I miss this? There we go. Move all the potato off to the side. Slice, slice, slice. And you could also use these potatoes to make some really tasty Russian potato bread. I really like Russian potato bread just because it's so simple. And the way it's made, you kind of like take potatoes and you replace some of the flour with the potato. What you do is you boil your potatoes like you would normal potatoes, but then you keep the potato and keep some of the potato water, and you mash the potato, and you use that instead of some of the flour in your bread. Hi, Vardenia. How's it, Vardenia? Am I saying your name right? I'm not entirely sure. Slice, slice, slice. Let's get these potatoes on so we can start making our mashed potatoes. Slice, slice. Yay, I got it right. Oh my gosh. I got your name right. It's really quite difficult for me sometimes. Slice, slice. We got a few more potatoes to do. So, while I'm making these potatoes, I have a question for you all. What is your favorite go-to weekday meal? Apparently, the parents like to eat mashed potatoes and meatloaf. Nah. I'm quite partial to pizza pretty much every day of the week. What is your go-to dinner meal idea? If it's not pizza, and if it's not pizza, why even eat it? But if it's not pizza, I'm quite partial to things like, I like spaghetti, or macaroni, or I like chili with ground turkey and brown rice. I like that too. Or I eat a turkey and cheese sandwich from a corner store I go to. That's sad. I mean, no, don't mean to kink shame here, but if that's your dinner, wow. It just got real depressing in here. There we go. I'm going to turn it over and give these a quick rough chop. There we go. Nice little even pieces of cubed potato. Except for I absolutely mean to kink shame you. I am pro kink shaming. Oh, are we talking about dinner? Yes, we're talking about dinner. Perfect. All my potatoes are now cut up like, I don't even know what. Wake me up inside. I can't wake up. There we go. I'm going to get myself a boiling pan. I've got this nice deep one. I like to use this when I'm boiling large stuff because it's a thin aluminum pan. It's thin and it's aluminum, so it's going to suck up a lot of heat and get really hot quickly. But at the same time, it's going to also cool quickly. Rice with vegetables, I guess. Ooh. What show was it? Some Japanese anime where there was one character who could only eat rice and pickled vegetables. I think it was Ranma 1.5. I'm going to cover these potatoes in water. There we go. And put them on the stove to boil. Let me check on my pie real quick. Ooh boy, things are getting crispy in there. We've still got another about 10 or 15 minutes to go. Hi, quote Pelican. How's it going? There's my big old beer. Kia Fries. I don't know how to say your name, but thank you so much for the host. Oh my goodness. Kia Fries? I don't know. Am I saying your name right? Thank you for the host, though. Hammy Bacon. Hello, welcome to the stream. You're just in time to see me chug the rest of my diet root beer. Yes, hello, welcome. Hammy Bacon. That sounds tasty. Except for I don't eat pork. Hey you, am I saying your name right? Kia Fries? Am I saying it right? Please tell me yes. I'd be really embarrassed if you said no. All right, now we can start putting this meatloaf in the oven. It's been chilling in the fridge for a while. letting all those meaty fibers relax. Also, it's covered with some, my life. Remember Monday when I made my pasta dish, what did we make Monday? We made our, words, Bakington, words. We made our pizza egg rolls in the air fryer. I had that sauce left over. It's been used, hiccups from the root beer. Hi, Def himself. Welcome, new person. Kappa Pride. I used some of the tomato sauce from my pizza egg rolls, the marinara sauce we made. Sprinkled it on the top. I'm going to finish with a sprinkle of really good quality Parmesan cheese. There we go. Now this is going to go into the oven at the same temperature, 420, but then after the pie cooks, we're going to lower the temperature back down to around, what did I say? 375 for about 20 minutes. Don't mind my base. Also, don't worry about my pie. This is one of those cool ovens where you can put two things in and they won't exchange flavors. Ain't that fancy? Funny seeing you here, Hemi. Kaya fries? Kaya fries, like French fries? What on earth is going on? Pizza thighs? I'm so confused. But anyway, welcome to my stream. I have my pie in the oven and a special meatloaf on the, in the oven now as well. Also, we've just finished our, ooh, cool. We've also just got some potatoes on the stove. I chopped the potatoes super duper fine, so that way we can have some mashed potato once the time comes. Did you just blank in our ears again? Yes, I did. All right, let's go check on those potatoes though. Boom. Actually, why don't we switch over to a stove burner a little bit closer. Ta-da. Give my potatoes a bit of a stir. You can see the water is starting to turn color because of all of that, not base, but not all that base, all that starch. There we go. Meanwhile, I can start putting away all my mess. I've made such a mess today. That pie should be ready any minute though. Even after it's cooked though, we need to let it cool for a few minutes, maybe about 10 or 15 before we cut into it, or else we'll end up looking like we're serving dog food to our guests instead of pie. Because if we didn't let it cool, it would crumble into oblivion right before our eyes instead of cutting into a beautiful slice of pie. But no, welcome everyone to my stream, for those of you who are new. Do you have to put the pie on the windowsill to cool? Yes, of course, I do declare. The year is 1860. And I'm a Southern belle. Of course I have to put the pie on the windowsill to cool. Hey, these potatoes didn't break apart. Rude. I know someone who made meatloaves with faces on them, like for kids. That's horrifying. Oh my gosh. I would not want to eat. First off, I don't eat meatloaf as a rule. Secondly, I wouldn't eat meat with a face on it. For the same reason I don't eat fish with faces. Like I don't eat whole fishes, although I don't eat fish in general. Caller, just a sec. Just a sec. Just a second. My feet are getting all hot from the oven. Let me check on this pie. It looks real good. I want to let it brown a little bit more. Mix my potatoes around. You can send me a photo. Oh my gosh, yes, send me one on Twitter. Really? Azathoth cult? That's horrifying. I hate that. My head's being filled with all kinds of sad images now. Do 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 do. How long have I been streaming for? What do you mean by that? Do you mean today, or how long have I been doing the streaming? The stream looks fine to me. What do you do with all the food you cook you can't eat it all? Who says I can't? No, but really, usually this food goes to feed other people. Like sometimes I've made food for parties. A lot of the time, though, it gets eaten, but just over a long period of time. Like I put it in the freezer and eat it for lunch every few days. Mix my potatoes around. Okay, while we're waiting on these to come together, why don't we get together the rest of the ingredients for this particular dish? I'm going to go and grab all the liquids we're going to need for our mashed potatoes. We'll start with some milk. You can use cream if you want, but I personally care about my coronary artery and the coronary arteries of my guests. So I'm not going to use cream, but by all means, go ahead. I'm going to use a mixture of 1 cup of milk and 1 cup of half and half. Milk, 1 cup, which I guess it's 1 cup of milk and 1 cup of half and half. That makes it what? A quarter? I didn't take the lid off. A quarter? 3/4 and a quarter instead of half and half. It would be 3/4 and a quarter. I'm also going to need the other 4 tablespoons of butter we didn't add when we made our pie filling. I'm going to take this and put it like when did you start your first stream? Let's see. My first official stream in the Bakington kitchen we have in today was in August of last year. So I'm coming up on a year. That's exciting. But yeah, lamau at me. The view is fine too. Thank you. I'm glad you guys like my expert camera skills. All the camera work and all the cool stuff we have going on here at the Bakington show is because of M60, because I wouldn't know how to make any of this look nice. I'm just trying to melt my butter and heat everything up. There we go, that ought to do it. A few seconds ought to do it, just make things slightly warm. Nah, my butter's still firm. While my butter is melting, I'm going to check my pie. Ooh boy, that is definitely a pie. Leave it just a little bit longer, maybe another 5 minutes, and then we can take it out. Things are getting hot and spicy in the world of the potatoes. And the meatloaf is starting to brown, so we're definitely in the right direction, Scotty. Take my butter and milk. Does this count as buttermilk? No, it doesn't. Captain Kirk, thank you so much for the host. Oh my goodness, you're the best. Welcome. Were you just streaming? If you were, welcome. How was your stream? Tell me all about it. I'm preparing some mashed potatoes. This could be a little bit warmer. So, you know what? If it can be warmer, why don't we make it warmer? It was very nice. How was your stream? It's going really well. My pie looks absolutely beautiful. In about 5 minutes, I can take it out. And then we can let it cool for a further 10. Yeah, can we get a shout out for Captain Kirk? He's the cool. He's the cool. What'd you do? Hello, Emperor Arafat. Welcome to my stream. Are you ready to have your senses overwhelmed with delicious food? If the answer is yes, then you're in the right stream. Ooh boy, that looks perfect. Everything's coming together. Let me leave that over there. I'm gonna grab my gloves so we can take out our pie. It's pie time. Ooh, sizzly pie. And look at that. Look at that beautiful pie. Set it over here to cool. And I'll move my meatloaf into the middle of a sheet rack. Perfect. You're new, what's going on here? Welcome, Sonic Crashes. You're just in time to see pie. I made this pie myself, and as a true Southern Belle, it now has to go onto a windowsill to cool. Better keep old Johnny Brown from coming by and stealing my pie off my windowsill, though. Dag nabbit. I do declare. I say. How are my Southernisms? Are they good? So mix all my butter and milk together, and half cream, so I guess it's quarter cream and milk. And this is what's going to constitute all the liquid ingredients for our mashed potatoes to make them super smooth. M60 a cream pie? No, he doesn't live anywhere near me. Just, owie, it's hot crust though, but look at that. I just pulled a chunk of crust off. Look at how crispy and tender this crust looks. Look at that. Super flaky. Look at all those flakes in there. Mmm. Heavenly. Don't you wish your pie was as beautiful as this? Thank you. Oh my gosh, let's see the picture of the scary meatloaf. I want to see. I just got a message from Kelly Cat with the scary face meatloaf picture. No, honestly, this is what should. This is a creepypasta in itself. Look at that. Look at those meatloaf faces. How horrifying is that? Look at that one particularly. Or that one. Isn't that horrible? That's terrible. Yeah, I know, right? Everything's coming up roses for Bakington, though. I've got a beautiful pie that's going to cool now. I got some potatoes boiling away, some meatloaf in the oven, and that's about it. Burn it? I know, right? I feel like that would have made it worse. Anyway, let's head back to the countertop. Let me just wash my handerinos. Whew. It is kind of warm in here. Get my dab on. Wipe up my surface. Ooh. Ah! Don't clip this either. I'm so weak. Ta-da! Oh, I done messed up. I done goofed. She made them for a domestic violence shelter I work at. Everyone was like, ugh, I wouldn't want that either. I mean, it's a sweet gesture, but ugh. What a wimp. I know, Sammy. I'm honestly like the weakest person I know. Even like weaker than most other people. What did I even say? What did I even mean by that? All right, let me put my sugar away. It's sugar, I swear. But Sammy, did you see my butt pack? Can I still be heard? Testing 1 2 3. Do re mi fa sol la ti do. Do re mi fa sol la ti do. Do re mi fa sol la ti do. Yes. No, don't time out Sammy. He's an honest Joe. Ah, my potatoes are overboiling. Ah, this is terrible. Things are happening. Oh my gosh. That's beautiful. There, now you're exempt from the rules. Also, prepare to be knighted. There, now you two are exempt from the rules. So you can share those pictures with pictures and clips with everyone else. Feels modded. But Sammy, did you see the pie? I don't know if you saw the pie. I don't think anyone saw the pie. I really want to flaunt the pie again. Ah, my potatoes. Why didn't you guys tell me my potatoes were overboiling? Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Look at this pie. Look at how flaky that crust is. You can see all the gooey apple about to seep out right there. It's super firm and big, and you can see the super gooey filling has bubbled out right there. It's very tasty. Kind of tastes like hot apple cider because we added all the spices. And I'm actually going to take this off and away from the heat. I'm going to put it over on the countertop so that way it's away from the heat source. So proud of the little Bakington. Thank you. Ta-da! Now I'm just like tree trunks, and I can say I made you an apple pie. Ta-da! It's for you. I made it myself. Welcome to the neighborhood. Don't get used to it. So strong indeed. And my crimped together edges held up very nicely. I'm going to let this cool now a lot, so that way when we cut it open, it doesn't all just fall apart into slop. Of course you should eat if you're hungry. I'm going to skim off this foam. My potatoes are getting tender now, that's good. So, I'm going to wash my bowls. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup now. We can have some cleanup talk with Bakington. This is a portion of my stream where you can ask me questions now about certain things like food or, oh my gosh, my dogs are having neighbor fights again if you hear any noise in the background. Food, any food questions you might have, any cooking questions, questions about the stream, or really anything else. This is a time when we can all come together and figure out what just happened, because honestly, sometimes my show is a bit of a whirlwind. You baked us an apple pie? I did. Ah, big bowl. I left my phone all the way over there. Now I can't see what you're saying. Don't say anything embarrassing, because I won't be able to see it. I'm also washing this big bowl so I can put my mashed potatoes in here. Hot soapy water ought to do it. go. I'm new to the stream. What do you put in your meatloaf? I missed a part of the stream. Oh, well, you'll be happy to know that Bakington doesn't make meatloaf because Bakington hates touching beef like that. I'm just joking. So when I make meatloaf, I use seasoned Italian breadcrumbs and a little bit of ketchup, an egg, some black pepper, a little bit of garlic, oregano, thyme, basil, parsley, some Parmesan cheese, and then I used that homemade tomato sauce from Monday when we made our pizza egg rolls in the air fryer to put on the top with some Parmesan cheese as well. But I didn't make this one. Lady Bakington did and put it in the fridge with the strict instructions that I be the one to bake it. So I didn't want to let her down. Oh my gosh, way too many llamas. Hi, how's it going? You're just in time for pie. I made you a pie. Come look at my pie. Look at this beautiful, delicious, gooey apple pie I made you. Just for you. Look at that. You want some of my gooey apple pie? Oh my gosh, Kitty Cosmos, all my favorite people in one stream. Oh, if only we had Handlebar and High Five and probably Gornox as well. Then we'd have everyone here. But I'm happy with the people that I have here. Hi, Kitty Cosmos. Well, don't you look delicious today? Oh, way too many llamas, you flatter me. Anyway, we've got our meatloaf in the oven, we've got our potatoes on the boil, we've got our pie all ready. Needs to cool down, lest Johnny Brown come from my windowsill and take my pie. I'm one of your favorite people? Of course you are. You're like the most, like, I don't know, you bring the fun, bright, vibrant sass to our otherwise samely group. Perturters broiling? Is that how I sound? That's probably true. That's probably how I sound. Why don't we check back on our... come back here. I was reaching for the spatula for my strawberry potatoes, and I kept like going like this and just pushing it farther away from me. It was really bad. I need to get a hold of myself, honestly. You can see things are boiling now quite heavily. And you can tell your potatoes are done when you poke them with a knife or a fork, they feel tender and come out clean. No resistance. No, you don't sound like that? Okay, I was worried. I'm also going to check on my meatloaf. Ooh boy, all things loaf inside there. That kitchen is massive. Thank you. I love my kitchen. But Kitty Cosmos and Llama and Way Too Many Llamas, how was your days today? I haven't seen you guys yet. You can also see how thick and gooey this water is getting because of all that starch is starting to cook. All right, let's give our potatoes their first preliminary test. I'm going to get out a knife or a fork. I think a fork will work better for potatoes this size. I'm going to grab a couple potatoes, poke them with the fork. If they come through without any resistance, there's a little bit of resistance. They're cooked. These are almost cooked. You can see how quickly how quick it was, because these are such small potatoes in the gumbo of repugnance. I like Wander Over Yonder. I just had to say that. Hater is small potato is, what is it, in our gumbo of repugnance? You just got done streaming? Welcome. How was your stream? What'd you do? What'd you play? How did you feel? Did you like what you played? I'm going to grab myself a strainer. These are almost ready. Then we can begin mixing our butter, cream, and milk together into our potatoes. Ooh boy. All right, I think we're good. So I'm going to grab Using my mother's pot holder, not 420 pot holder, let's head over to the countertop so we can drain our taters. Ta-da! Pour, pour, pour. Ooh boy. Vape Nation. More like Crepe Nation with Bakington. Into my bowl they go. Now I've got a big bowl of hot, steamy potato. I'm going to get my masher, my mix of cream and butter. You can use some, none, or all of it. And we get my salt and pepper. Very important. I'm going to add plenty of salt. I'm more of a crepe god, not a vape god. Lots of pepper. And to start, I'm going to add a bit of my cream and milk mix. Dab. There we go. I'm going to mash my potatoes. Ooh boy, those are mashy. Nice and soft. You can see just how easy they are to mash. Oh my gosh, I'm vaping it up in here. You can see how quickly these mash because they were in such small pieces to begin with. Looking good. All right, looks good. I'm going to add a little bit more. Mix that around. All right, that looks good. Now, we can add in Bakington's secret ingredient. Shh, don't tell anybody. This is just between you and me. Okay? What I share with you should not be shared with anyone else. This is your and I special recipe. I like to add just a sprinkle of Parmesan cheese. If Lady Bakington saw this, she would flip. Mix that in, mash it through. Hair flip. Taste. I feel like I could use a little bit more seasoning. Potatoes are kind of bland, so make sure you season it properly. Ta-da! Now we've got some mashed potatoes. Nice and smooth. Got to really work it in there. All right. One more taste. Perfect. Yummy. I'm going to check one more time on my meatloaf. I'll give it about another 5 minutes. But my potatoes are done. I'll put those to the side. My meatloaf is in the oven. And my apple pie should be cool enough to cut now. It's still quite warm, but it should be cool enough to cut. It's cool for the summer. So I'm going to clean off my edgy knife. You can also spice up your potatoes by adding in some other herbs and spices I didn't use. Like you could add some tarragon or some parsley. Parsley would be good in this actually. Or you could add in some other peppers or change up the potatoes you use. It really is up to you. gonna cut straight down. Oh yeah. Cut all the way through. Right up to the edge. Oh my gosh, it smells like spiced apple cider. You guys, I'm gonna stop right now because I want you guys to see what it looks like when it comes out. Ready? Bring it over. Are you ready? I am. Oh my gosh. Get your napkins ready. Really slice through it. And you'll see just how juicy it is on the inside. Make sure you slice all the way through that pastry, especially around the edges. Just drag your knife straight through. And now, who's ready for a slice of apple pie? Look at that. Oh, it kind of fell apart. But look at all that rich, juicy gooiness on the inside. Look at that. Do you see anything more obscene? Mmm. Look at that. You should just see how soft these apples are, but they hold their shape so well. Look, look. Mmm. And it tastes so much like spiced cider because of all the spices we add, especially the ginger and nutmeg combo. Mm. I love ice cream on apple pie. I just don't have any today. Mmm. Look at that. Look at how cooked through that apple is. But even though it's cooked through, it's not mushy. It's not apple sauce. It's a full-on slice of apple. Just absolutely super soft. Mmm. Oh, yeah. Mmm. Here. Nom, 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 nom. Was that good for you? It was good for me. All right, I'm going to snap a picture of my pie. Mmm. Yummy. First off, I'm going to make it a little bit neater by just wiping up the extraneous bits of juice with some paper towel. This helps make the shot look a bit nicer. Pie with a slice of cheese, that's weird. No, I haven't heard of that, nor will I do it. Everyone say tea tours. Ready? 1, 2. Hold on. The camera's being a butt. A butt. One. 1, 2, 3. That was a terrible shot. Kelly Cat blinked. We have to start over. Forget it. My phone decided not want to take a picture. Anyway, let's dig in. We're going to eat dessert before dinner. Ow. Put a towel down before the shot? Yeah. I decided I'll probably just take a picture of the pie itself after this is over. Uh, you could just eat the pie for dinner. Same. Oh my goodness. Ah. That is so good. The apples are so soft. Ah. But not mushy. That's why I said to use a firm cooking apple. The crust is so tender and flaky. It's apple pie that we just made. Oh my gosh. Really rich, flaky apple pastry with the sweet, spiced, tender apples is a winning combination. What type of apples do you use? These are golden delicious, but I said a Granny Smith could work as well. All right. Before I ascend into total apple pie nirvana, let's get out that meatloaf. Let's head back over to the stove and rescue our meatloaf. Move it, apple pie. Your 5 minutes of fame are over. Ta-da! Delicious meatloaf. Look how beautiful that looks. Ta-da! The cheese is browned on the top, the sauce is nice and soft, and the meat itself is cooked. Not bad. This is food porn, isn't it? My friend I called is making meatloaf. Now I want meatloaf. M60, come over and have meatloaf. This is an Italian twist on meatloaf. It's got Italian spices and tomato sauce, Parmesan cheese. Well, this has been absolutely delicious. If you like this stream, before I get on my rant, let's head back over to the countertop. Well, this was super delicious. Honestly, like, oh my gosh. That apple pie I cannot say enough good things about. This recipe will be up shortly on my Tumblr page, lordbakington.tumblr.com, where I have all my other recipes as well. If you like my stream, you should check out some of my past streams in my history in the back in my little video section. You should check out my YouTube channel, Lord Bakington, on YouTube. It has a short series called Bakington's Bites of little recipes that weren't quite big enough for their own stream. And then I've also got a new series coming up. Very fun stuff in the works. Also, check out my Twitter page down below and my Tumblr, as I said before. Twitter has stream updates. Tumblr has all of my Tumblr has all my recipes, and YouTube has a little fun series. Plus, this stream will probably be up on YouTube today. Well, with that, I have to thank you all for coming by. We'll see you Friday for another delicious Bakington stream. We're going to be making a lemon and apple cake for a very special lady, and then probably do some prep work for another catering event I'm doing on Saturday. With that, I will see you all Friday for another wonderful Bakington stream. Peace!